They broke you because you let them. Not once, but again and again you opened your heart. They walked in, took what they wanted, and left without looking back. And the worst part? You blame yourself for feeling too much, for trusting too fast, for caring too deeply. You were taught that kindness is a virtue, but no one warned you that kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But you keep letting others drag their wounds into your life and call it love. You confuse attachment with loyalty and pain with meaning." Here's the truth. The world does not care how good your heart is. It only respects one thing: power wrapped in silence. The reason they keep hurting you is because you still give them the permission to. This ends now, because starting today, you will become someone who can't be broken. Not because you stopped feeling, but because you finally learned where to stop giving a fuck. Pain is not weakness. Attachment is. Most people think feeling everything deeply makes them human, but Carl Jung knew the truth, that unchecked emotions are just another form of slavery. Emotional detachment is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. It's choosing not to react to every word, every insult, every storm. It's realizing that you don't need to explain, defend, or prove yourself anymore. Because people don't see you as you are. They see you as they are, through their filters, through their wounds. The more emotionally reactive you are, the more control you give away. Jung believed the greatest power comes when you stop being available to everything. You become dangerous when you master stillness. Not the stillness of weakness, but the stillness of a loaded weapon, silent, but ready. You don't need to respond to disrespect. You don't need to argue with fools. You don't need to prove your value to anyone who can't see it. You just need to walk away with your dignity and your silence. Because when you detach, you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. And that is the beginning of power. Indifference is misunderstood. People think it means not caring, but real indifference means caring, selectively. It means choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't even deserve a reaction. You see, weakness doesn't come from feeling too little. It comes from feeling too much for people who don't feel at all. When someone insults you, manipulates you, leaves you, you bleed. But why? Because you gave them power over your emotional state. Because you believed their opinion mattered more than your peace. Indifference takes that power back. Carl Jung warned that emotions, when unchecked, become weapons against the self. That's why powerful people never reveal too much. They don't over-explain. They don't chase. They don't beg. Not because they're arrogant, but because they're grounded. And once you master indifference, you become untouchable. Not emotionally dead, but emotionally disciplined. You stop reacting to every vibration outside of you. You start listening to the silence inside you. People lose interest in hurting you when they realize it no longer works. They get bored when you stop feeding the drama, stop taking the bait. That's the hidden truth. Indifference is the final stage of emotional maturity. It doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means nothing controls how you feel. There's a side of you that you've been trained to hide. The part that gets angry, that wants revenge, that questions everything you were told is good. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the collection of every emotion, impulse, and instinct you were told to suppress. From childhood, you were taught to smile when you wanted to scream, to be nice when you were disrespected, to forgive when you were never even acknowledged. So where did all that rage go? It didn't disappear. It went underground, into the shadow. The more you deny it, the more it controls you. You snap when you should be calm, you cry when you should walk away, you shrink when you should stand tall. But here's the truth Jung uncovered. You will never be whole until you face the part of you you've been running from, not to destroy it, but to understand it, to integrate it. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's your untapped strength, your buried confidence, your true boundaries. Once you accept it, something strange happens. You stop being controlled by others because you're no longer afraid of yourself. People can only manipulate what you refuse to confront. They can guilt you if you fear your anger. They can shame you if you deny your ambition. But once you embrace every part of you, the dark, the broken, the primal, you become unshakable, whole, silent, and powerful. Power is not about controlling others. It's about no longer being controlled by them. You reclaim your power the moment you stop chasing closure. Stop explaining your worth. Stop asking for love from people who weaponize it. The truth is simple. Most people don't want you healed. They want you soft, obedient, predictable. Because when you're uncertain of yourself, you're easier to use. Carl Jung taught that true power comes from individuation, the process of becoming who you were always meant to be, not who they told you to be. It means walking away, even when you want to stay. It means letting go, even when it hurts. It means trusting your inner voice, even when it whispers and the world screams. You were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be authentic. You reclaim your power when you stop explaining your silence, when you don't apologize for having standards, when you realize that loneliness is better than disrespect disguised as love. Because here's the harsh truth. No one can break you unless you hand them the pieces. No one can destroy your peace unless you give them access to your soul. Your power was never outside you. It was never in how they saw you. It was in how you saw yourself when no one else was watching. Take it back. They told you to be good, be kind, be generous, be forgiving. And so you tried. You gave second chances like candy. You made excuses for people who only showed you their worst. You believed that if you loved hard enough, they would change. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Goodness without wisdom is a trap. Carl Jung didn't believe in being blindly good. He believed in being whole, which means owning your light and your darkness. You see, when you build your identity around being good, you become easy to manipulate. You become terrified of conflict. You say yes when you want to scream no, and worst of all, you tolerate what should have never been allowed in the first place. Why? Because you're afraid. Afraid of being seen as selfish. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of not being liked. But Jung knew the shadow of goodness is weakness, and people will weaponize it against you. They'll say you're not nice when you finally set boundaries. They'll call you cold when you stop being emotionally available to their chaos. They'll label you difficult when you stop making life easy for everyone else. Let them, because real goodness is not about being agreeable. It's about being authentic. It's about knowing when to walk away, when to speak the truth, when to stop bleeding just to keep the peace. Your job is not to be what the world expects. Your job is to become someone you can trust, even when that means being misunderstood, even when it means being alone, even when it means being feared more than loved. There is a certain peace that comes when you stop performing, when you stop bending, when you stop proving. That's not cruelty, that's clarity. The world doesn't need more nice people. It needs more people who've healed their trauma, faced their shadow, and refused to be used. So if they say, "You've changed," good. You were never meant to stay small, soft, and silent. You were meant to outgrow the illusion and become something far more powerful than good. You were meant to become real. We live in a world that demands our attention 24/7. Our phones buzz with messages, emails, social media notifications, and calls, each one an invisible thread pulling us in 1,000 different directions. Everyone wants a piece of you. Everyone wants something from you. And because we've been conditioned to say yes, to always show up, to always be available, we end up losing ourselves in the process. But what happens when you give too much of yourself? What happens when you make yourself so accessible that your time, your energy, and your very presence become commodities to be bought and sold by others? The cost is steep. It starts with the small sacrifices. You tell yourself it's just one, More call, one more meeting, one more favor. You promise yourself that tomorrow you'll take a break, but tomorrow never comes. You're always giving, always serving, always being there for everyone else. And what about you? Who is there for you? The first toll this constant availability takes is on your time. You no longer have control over how your day unfolds. Your schedule isn't yours. It's a collection of requests and demands from other people. You stop having the space to think, to create, to rest. Every minute is accounted for, and somehow the things that matter most, your passions, your dreams, your inner peace, get pushed to the bottom of the list. The second cost is emotional. When you are always available to others, you become emotionally depleted. You give so much of yourself that there's nothing left to give. You put on a brave face, smiling through the exhaustion, pretending like you can handle it all. But deep down you feel the strain. You're tired, you're drained. You're weary of always being the one who picks up the pieces. And yet you don't know how to stop. Because if you stop being there for others, what does that make you? Selfish? Cold? Uncaring, so you keep going. You keep saying yes, even when you know your soul is screaming no. But let me tell you this. The cost of always being available is your identity. It's your sense of self. When you're constantly giving, constantly sacrificing, constantly being there for everyone else, who are you? What's left of you when all you've done is serve the needs of others? You forget what it means to take care of yourself. You forget what it feels like to have boundaries. You forget what it's like to say no without feeling guilty. You forget what it's like to have a life that's yours, one that's not defined by other people's expectations, needs, or demands. But here's the hard truth. If you don't start taking care of yourself, no one else will. If you don't begin to set boundaries, no one else will respect them. And that's where the real cost lies, in the loss of your own sense of self-worth. When you're always available to others, you start to believe that your worth is tied to your ability to give. You start to believe that if you're not giving, you're not valuable. But this is a dangerous trap, because your worth is not defined by how much you do for others. Your worth is inherent. It's the fact that you exist, that you have a unique place in this world, and that you deserve to be treated with respect, including by yourself. The third cost is the erosion of your own desires and dreams. When you're constantly putting others first, your own aspirations get buried. You stop thinking about what you want because you're too busy trying to meet the needs of everyone else. And with every unspoken desire you bury, you lose a piece of your soul. You lose the fire that once drove you to be more, to create, to grow. Because when you give up your time, your energy, and your passion for others, you lose the ability to cultivate your own. But there's a deeper truth to be found in all of this. The more you make yourself available to others, the more they come to expect it. They get used to your generosity, your willingness to help, your selflessness. And soon it's not a choice anymore. It's a routine. It's a pattern that feeds off your constant availability. And in that pattern, you lose yourself. You lose the power to say no. You lose the ability to prioritize your own needs. You lose your voice. The truth is, you don't owe anyone your time. You don't owe anyone your energy, and you certainly don't owe anyone the pieces of your soul. When you stop being available to others, when you start setting boundaries, when you take back your time and your energy, you reclaim your life. You reclaim your power. It's not selfish to say no. It's self-preservation. And this is where the real transformation happens. When you stop being available to everyone, you become available to yourself. You give yourself permission to rest, to dream, to pursue what matters most to you. You reclaim the pieces of you that were lost in the process of always giving. So the next time someone asks for your time, ask yourself this: is this really something I want to do? Does this align with my own needs? Does this feed my soul, or does it drain me? If it drains you, then it's time to walk away. If it doesn't nourish you, then it's time to say no. Because the cost of always being available is too high. And the only way to truly live is to first honor yourself. They will keep trying to trigger you, to test you, to see if the old version of you still lives here. Smile. Let them knock on the door you've locked from the inside, because the person they used to control is gone. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is no longer fate, this is choice. You are not cold, you are clear, you are not broken, you are reborn. Let them call you distant, let them say you've changed. They're right. You no longer bleed for people who wouldn't even flinch if you disappeared. You no longer explain peace to those addicted to chaos. You are the silence they cannot manipulate, the storm they cannot predict, the soul they cannot own. From this moment forward, nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again, not because the world changed, but because you finally did. You've heard it your entire life. Be good, be nice, be selfless. But look where that's taken you. You've bent over backward for people who never once bent for you. You've stayed quiet to avoid conflict, only to find that silence gets mistaken for weakness. You've given and given and given, until there was nothing left, and even then they asked for more. This world doesn't reward those who are merely good. It rewards those who are clear, those who are whole, those who have faced their darkness and made peace with it. Carl Jung said it best. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You're not here to be a doormat. You're not here to please everyone. You're here to become someone unshakable, someone who walks with quiet power because they know who they are. Not perfect, not always agreeable, but real. There is something deeply powerful about a person who no longer fears being misunderstood, who no longer chases validation, who no longer makes themselves small just to make others comfortable. That person cannot be controlled. That person cannot be manipulated. That person is dangerous, not because they seek harm, but because they cannot be harmed the way they used to. That person is you, or at least the real you, buried beneath years of people-pleasing, guilt and fear. But now you're waking up. You've seen how the world works. You've seen how your kindness was used against you. And you've decided no more. You will set boundaries. You will say no without explanation. You will walk away without guilt. You will protect your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. And the people who once fed on your constant availability, your empathy, your silence, they will fall away. Let them. You are not here to carry everyone. You are not here to absorb the chaos of others. You are not here to prove your worth. You are here to live your truth, boldly, clearly, unapologetically. And in doing that, something incredible happens. You become untouchable. Because real strength isn't loud. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to explain itself. Real strength is still rooted, grounded in truth. And from that place, nothing and nobody can hurt you the way they once did. Not because the world changes, but because you do. If this message found you in a moment of doubt or exhaustion, if you've spent too long trying to be the good one, the nice one, the fixer, it's time to reclaim your power. Start by asking yourself one question every day. Is this action coming from love or from fear? If it's fear, don't do it. Embrace your boundaries like armor. Speak less, observe more, and remember, silence doesn't mean weakness, it means mastery. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs this message. Comment your thoughts below. Your voice matters here. And most of all, subscribe for more content that speaks to the real you, the one that's waking up and choosing power over performance. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be free, and your healing, it starts now.